Had some products arrive in the mail today. Issue I was having was with my cords. You see how large that is. When I would plug that into the sidewall, the outlet for the power for this, it takes up a tremendous amount of space without kinking it a lot. It's really large. I had an option of getting a side mount so I could plug it in going up or down. I didn't like that at all. And this is going to be a permanent install where this is put in. It's not like you're taking this in and out of your vehicle. The other issue I had was with this plug. And same thing, once I plugged that into the wall, there was just a lot of space it was taking up. But I am going to be changing this out to this plug. This is a 10 gauge wire. This will be plenty heavy to replace this. So I'm going to be taking this end off and installing this. This you'll see, SAE plug. This will mount into the wall. I'll have a much smaller attachment coming in. Now on this one, you're seeing this end, but they also make a 90-degree connector that's going to go in there, and it's going to do the same thing that this one is here. So let's take a look at this one. This is a 90-degree plug, and that is going to replace this. So you can see how much room this one takes up compared to that one. It's going to allow the plug to come straight down. And this will also have the same thing. This is going to go in the wall, and then there will be a 90-degree SAE connector just like this that will plug into that and come straight down. So by having the cords come straight down, the cords are moving rather than getting pulling like that on there. All right, well, we are back in here. Took a couple of days off because of some rain and finished up some projects for customers. I got all this cleared out, so you can see now coming in, dinette area, 57-gallon water tank. Here you can see all the electronics. This is going to be where the heating system is, and all plumbing systems, drain, valves, all that stuff. It's going to go in here because that's where both tanks come out, right into this area. But this is what we're working on. Kitchen. Be installing these today. These will be going like this, somewhat, and there will be 3 of those going across, one here, here, and there. I'm going to get those installed today, glued in, and then this is getting coated, as well as all raw wood here. So this whole front, the piece that goes on here, which is sitting out in the trailer right now, all the wood was moved out into there. But that's where we are beginning today. So I marked the precise location of the drawer dividers, and then using my biscuit jointer, I put biscuits in both the cabinet surface, the top and or bottom in this case, and the dividers. The next step was to glue them in using a PL glue for the wood to wood, and I used a Sikaflex 252 for the wood to the fiberglass panel. Well, I'm not happy to see a leak. I'm glad because I could kind of point it out to you other than just showing you like things aren't leaking. Again, I was wet testing both of these tanks because these were added in after my last test. So before this is considered done, I was doing another wet test on there. I filled this tank up and everything was good, didn't have any problems. But after a few minutes, I saw this one leaking, and it was real easy. I just had to tighten up that nut and it's all good. But I was letting it sit here, and I'll actually let this sit overnight, especially this tank, 57 gallons, is quite a bit of pressure sitting in there and sloshing back and forth in the truck as it's driving. So Came out a half hour later, and right there you could see I've got another leak that's forming. Now, when I first filled that up, half hour, that hadn't leaked, but it's the pressure, and that's important. That's what you're really looking for, is when this is sitting with a lot of pressure on it, will a leak form? So there it is. You just saw a drip, hopefully. And all I'm going to do now is tighten up that back nut right there, and that will take care of it. It's that easy. If that doesn't, then that means that one of these sensors, the rubber is defective. That happens sometimes, but not a lot. So let's get that tightened up. Well, the next day, the drawer dividers are all glued up, and I started taking all that apart. The next step is to glue in the cleats on both the right and left side. That is to support the kitchen countertop that goes on top of here last. Now with all the cleats in and the dividers in, it is time to put my finishing coat on all of this wood. With 2 coats of finish on and dried, I can start installing the outlets and the grill covers. Problem solving 101. I needed to get a hole in the shelf to be able to pass my gas line up through. And it was a very tight space, and I didn't really have a way to get myself in there to get enough pressure on that drill. So I came up with this system, and it worked flawlessly. I have made quite a few modifications to this kitchen cabinet alone, and that was one of the spots there. I took out the back leg on 2 pieces of wood that were going through there. Both are glued to the wall, so it doesn't matter, but I needed that space to be able to run the heater ducts through. Well, got the tank strapped down, and the shelf under the refrigerator is now permanently in. I hope I don't have to take that out again. But that is all set, and I'm ready for the drawer glides coming up here soon. I made custom pockets for these drawer glides. These are 500-pound drawer glides, and I wanted a full 24-inch extension, but the cabinet's only 23 inches. I got a number of projects buttoned up today. Probably doesn't look like a lot because a lot of this was undone and then redone, but permanently. But you can see here all the drawer glides. I'm about to install my final one for the kitchen countertop. These are RV specific drawer glides. These are not your regular glides. You'll watch it on this one. You hear that? That is a spring-loaded catch back there when it gets to a certain area. Right about there, it releases a spring back there, and it pulls that drawer back. What that means is that when I'm driving down the road, these drawers are not going to open. If I remember right, they are 20 pounds, so 20 pounds each. So that's 40 pounds of pressure I need to pull to open these drawers up. They are 100-pound weight capacity, but a 20-pound pull or 40-pound pull has to be pulled out. I use these in the van, and I went off-roading in the van and never had a single drawer open up. These things are fantastic. I'll put a link in the description for these because I've only found them from one company. Here, I could show you right here on this one. This has it. So single finger, you can open them. You don't need a lot of strength to pull it open, but it is not going to open easily when you're going down the road and the vehicle is bouncing or you're off-roading. And you'll see here. And that's it. And then there's that pull. So anything that's trying to pull this open, it'll keep pulling it shut. I love these things. Down below we have more drawer glides. These are industrial. I'll show you what's happening down here. These are 500-pound drawer glides each side, because this is going to be holding the weight of the refrigerator fully stocked. So there's a lot of weight in this area. I wanted these to be able to come out a full extension. The problem is my cabinets are not 24 inches deep, and I can only get 22 or 24. So what I ended up doing, I had these right here, you can see them. These are custom made 3D printed inserts I made that allowed me to recess the drawer glide into the wall just enough so that I will be able to get my support on here. Where's my little block? There's going to be a drawer front on here. It's going to sit like that in there, and then there are going to be there'll be a whole panel on here, and there's going to be a big metal tray that's going to sit here that holds the refrigerator. You'll notice, unlike there, these will just freely open and close, and you can see right there. Watch this. Just disappears right inside of there. These will freely open and close, so I am using cam latches on the cabinet face here, and you'll just push a button, the cam latch will open, and it'll allow this drawer to pull out, and you shut it. You'll push both cam latches, and that will stay locked in that position. Some other stuff you'll notice here, this is the ventilation for the refrigerator. That goes all the way through. There it is on the other side. I did angle these down, so as the heat's rising, it's catching there. I angled these up to allow the heat to come up. Got my outlet with a 90-degree custom plug. And then you'll see for the 12 volt, I did the same exact thing. SEA plug, and then I got a 90-degree adapter for that. There it is on the other side. That's your SEA plug. And then the last thing back here, this is a special RV vent also, not vent, trap. If I say the name right, it's Hippo V. This is a mechanical trap, so there's no water in there. It is directional, so it only goes in one direction, and that is going to fit right in there. Because that's mechanical, it does wear out. Anything mechanical will eventually wear out, so it will be in an area that's easily accessible and easily to replace. But that is going to come down, and you can see down here, I still have to do all the plumbing. That's going to get cut and run over to here, which is my gray water. There's my vent, and then my drain. These are all the level indicators that'll eventually get hooked up. But all that work has been what's been going on. I made one final adjustment to here, which is this spot right there. I had added all those holes, and then I cut between two holes because that's where my plumbing lines are going to come up through there, hot and cold water, and come right up through into here, and this is the sink area. I did that because this shelf is removable, and I wanted somebody to be able to remove this without having to take those lines out of there. To remove this would be to access your water tank if that ever needed to be replaced. Not too difficult, but not too easy. It would require removing the metal tray that's here. That gets unbolted. Then it would require unbolting this, which is a pass-through bolts. Then there are 3 screws there, 1 here, and you do that, and this comes right out. And you can hear that, but I had a sneeze coming on there. So 3 holes, there's 3 screws there, 1 here, and this whole shelf, you don't have to remove this. This whole shelf would lift up. There's tabs in there, it'll come out, and you have full access to the water tank to be able to replace it. Same thing here, that whole vented panel is removable. Coming over here, so all this is now done. That's completed. Coming in here, I also added another hole back there for the propane line coming up through here, because the propane cooktop is going to sit there. Over here, these, we have two, again, 500-pound drawer glides here. These are the step so that you can get onto the bed. So there'll be a platform that pulls out right there. You step on that, and then you can see you step on there and get up on the bed. You can shut that one. And so those are in. I still have to do the one for the toilet. I am still trying to figure out how I'm going to do that, because I have this big recess here, and that drawer glide has to be able to come out here. And then attaching through here, I'm not too keen on the idea of having bolts sticking through here that I could see. Even with the acorn nuts, I'm worried about somebody catching their toe on that, which would not feel good. So I have a couple ideas, but I'm going to be working on something here to be able to bolt that drawer glide on here. These are very large. I think they were 32 inches, also 500-pound drawer glides, and that'll be another tray that pulls out here. Coming around over here, made some changes. Probably the first time in a while anybody's seen this area, because this whole, I took all this apart. I took the water tank out of here, and you could see like this was all put together. That's how easy it is to be able to replace a water tank if they ever needed to. So I took the two panels off, took the floor, well actually the floor came out first, two panels came out. I was able to remove the water tank, and then that's allowed me to work in here. And here you can see the batteries. And one of the changes I made here is I moved the Lynx distributor, which used to be over here, to that wall. Now all of that is all set, and right over here on this side I'm going to be installing the Progressive Dynamics, I think it's called the Micro Mini fuse panel, that will have both 120 volt circuit breakers and 12 volt fuses. So you'll be able to access any of that from here without having to go dig into that space. Originally I was going to be putting it there. The one I wanted wasn't available, and ultimately I decided that would be really annoying to access. So that is going to go here, and with that I'm also going to do another 120 volt outlet here for if somebody needed to charge up a laptop or what have you. And I'm going to be installing USB and USB-C power outlets in here, and those are both be fast charging. This is underneath the bench. The other thing that'll be here is the battery switch. So you'll be able to easily turn off the batteries. There'll be a main breaker. You could turn off your shore power on the main breaker there. Still to come here is going to be the wire chase going up and across, and you can see the other switch up there that'll be recessed into the panel up there. That is the shut off for the solar panel. So that is where I am. One more addition I'll be doing. If anybody remembers, at one point I was thinking of putting the water heater here. I have decided to go to a different water heater. I'm not going to be using Propex for my air heater, so I'm also getting rid of the water heater that I was thinking of. And what is going to live right here, basically, right about where the vacuum is right there, that is going to be a Wolf air and water heater, also propane. And it is the US version of the Truma Combi unit. So it'll do both hot water and my air heat. And that is going to live there. And then right above it, right above this line right here, I am going to be doing a shelf in here so that underneath this dinette cushion, you lift that up, this will be all storage right across here. And that will be a removable shelf also for servicing. But as you can see, there's a door there, so I will be able to get to all of those systems from outside, because I'll have my water tank, drains, my water pump is going to be in here, all my isolation valves, and then the big Wolf Truma knockoff for my air and water heater. So that will be sitting right there. So that'll be one unit, takes care of both, and a lot of people seem to be happy with Truma, and I think I'll be happy with the Wolf. I'll put a link in the description to that as well. So that's where I am at. We'll see what tomorrow brings for me. So I started prepping this wall, sanded where the wood cleats are going to be glued in. This is the shelf I started making just with some scrap 3/4 plywood that I had laying around. Nothing fancy because it's just going on the bottom of a shelf. Cleats are in now. They are glued and screwed in there. And the other thing I did was to go through and start sorting all my wood for figuring out what is going to be scrap and what is earmarked for projects. Well, I'm wrapping up this week. I only have a few hours tomorrow to work before I have to jump into another project on this property. And this cabinet is complete as far as the structure goes. All of that, all marked out, are all the drawers. So drawer, drawer, drawer. This will be a door for under the sink. And then there'll also be a drawer right there. And underneath that is a door. And I have all those panels ready to go. That's what all this is. I shouldn't say ready to go. They're all ready to be cut and assembled. Right now I'm working on this portion right here, which will be the pull-out step. And I've got the platform for here, but I want to fill this in, and because the platform's only 3/4 of an inch thick, but I need the room here for the clearance of the drawer slides. So I'm trying to come up with something to fill that in with, and I'm working on an idea, and I'm going to see tomorrow how that looks. But basically I am bringing this edge out a 1/2 inch to match up with the door, and then down an inch, so it's coming just above the top of the drawer slide there. Then there'll be a shelf going across, and then I will need something to put on the front there to fill in the space. So I don't have any more of the plyboo in a horizontal grain that is long enough to fit. So since I don't have any more horizontal grain plyboo to fit there, what I'm coming up with is to fill that in. It will be a vertical grain, but painting it black. I will do a satin or matte black finish on the wood, and make sure like I can't see any green pattern in that. So there'd be 2 sections of it. There'll be one piece on the drawer slide that pulls out coming down, and then there'll be an affixed piece that comes from here down. There'll be a lot of work that I'm doing tomorrow morning, but it's all testing just to see what that will actually look like, if that's just a nice black bar across. That's where I am at the end of this week. This still has to be done But everything inside of there is done, not the plumbing, that's just roughed in. But there's a shelf there now. There'll be all storage underneath this bench. And then under that is the heating system and the hot water system that is not in yet. That is my power distribution center. That will be going right on the front there. Let's go outside. There's a lot that I did out there. Let's come out here. All of that has been gone through. This from here down is trailer build. From here up is all the pieces that I'm working with. Everything is earmarked for something. So these pieces here are electrical chases. There's a refrigerator door in there. There's a toilet door in there. There's all the pieces for a center console in the truck are in there. The electrical switch panel system is all in here. So I spent a lot of time today going through all this scrap and trying to figure out what I can use and which grain orientation everything is, and how I was going to do it. 8 o'clock Thursday night, and pretty much wrapped up for this week until either Sunday or Monday.